and my name is Kelsey Lawrence, and I am doing a video on my outline for chapters 1 to 16, 18, and Appendix A. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. So the first thing we're going to talk about is defining family life education. This comes directly from chapter 1, Historical and Philosophical Perspectives, and it says, family life education is any educational activity occurring outside a traditional classroom setting, usually involving adults, that is designed to strengthen relationships in the home and foster positive individual, couple, and family development. So family life education started in the early 1800s. Things like mother-child study groups where they would discuss child rearing, and some other mother associations where other mothers would get together and talk. Self-help books also came out during this time, and there were topics like parenting and family life and just self-help books that were focused on the family, and that helped build the foundation for what we know as family life education now. Finally, with the with the American Land Grant System, there were state colleges that started putting money into family research, and that's where we ended up getting the state cooperation movement, or the extension, cooperative extension, where that took the university to the masses. That took the family research they were doing in the university and applied it to family life in classes and in forums and things like that. There now are web-based family life education websites, and there are podcasts, and a lot of the family life education teaching now is done on the internet because it really gets the information to the masses. So there are different approaches to teaching family life education. The first is the expert approach. This is where the teachers are the experts and they transmit their knowledge to the student. It's very lecture based, and the student isn't involved very much except for taking notes and listening. There's the second one, which is called the facilitator approach, where the individual has an influence on what is being taught, and the teacher teaches based on what the audience wants to know. So they ask their audience, okay, what do you want to learn about? What are you interested in? I think this is kind of like the BYU Idaho learning model, where we prepare, teach one another, and ponder. We have this kind of system set up where both parties learn from each other, and not just the teachers and learning from the students, but the students learning from each other as well. So we all learn from this experience. It's not just the students learning from an expert teacher. There's the critical inquirer approach, which is using questions to help participants think critically about what is being taught, encourages the learner to know the material enough to think and be able to answer questions. It helps them learn to apply things. So it puts a lot more responsibility on the student. There's also the interventionist approach. This is where teachers are the change agents, seeking real change in their audience. Education is for living, not just knowledge. How do we apply this? How is this going to change your life? I think this approach would be very helpful in an addiction recovery setting or a therapy setting, like the family relations approach that we're going to do for the semester, where we're helping the individual to change. And finally, there's the eclectic approach, which is using elements from all teaching styles. I think this is the most helpful, in my opinion. I think this is also the most work for the teacher. I think you really need to not just know the material, but you also really need to know your students. You need to know what they respond to and what they like. Do they like discussions? Do they like videos? Do they like asking questions? Do they like just listening to you lecture? Are there certain moments where maybe just a lecture would be appropriate or a discussion would be more appropriate? I think this really is an approach that makes the teacher think critically about her students and what they need to know. And I think it's really the best for family life educators to develop. Okay, so developing a working philosophy for family life education. Now, each family life educator has to have their own belief system on the family. It's vital to teaching about the family that we need to have our own idea of what the family is, what we think family life education is. So for example, I think the family, we have to first start with what is our belief about the family. And I think it's important to ask, does what I believe about the family help me help others? For example, do I view all children, all people as children of God, or only those who fit into my personal belief of what a family should be? So for example, we might be in a classroom setting where we are teaching a homosexual couple, or there may be a homosexual couple in our marital strengthening marriage class. Do we treat them like they're children of God as they are, or do we hold this belief that we don't believe in gay marriage, and we take it even farther to where we don't like people who believe or practice that kind of marriage? And there's a difference, I think, between personal beliefs and professional beliefs. While I personally would never enter into a homosexual relationship myself, that doesn't mean that I can't help people who are homosexual or who think differently than me or have open marriages or things like that. I can still help them even though we disagree personally on what we would do. So we also need to think about what our beliefs of the purpose of family life education. What do we want to accomplish and why? This reminds me a lot of the Young Women's theme, where it says that we are trying to be prepared to strengthen home and family. My belief is that family life education does just that, strengthen home and family. And my goal, not only in this class, but as a professional, is to prepare to do that. Prepare to be able to meet people who have family life issues or who need some help in certain areas and make it better for them to interact that way. Beliefs about the content of family life education. Now, there is a lot of information about families out there, and as professionals, we have to weed through that information and pick what we believe is valuable, what research has shown. I think relying a lot on research is important because that's as close to real truth and in this life scientifically that we can come by. So I think that focusing your family life resources in sound research is important to having a good family life program, and I think it also adds to the professionalism of your program. And then finally, we need to have a belief about the process of learning for families and individuals within families. So I take the approach that one individual behaving positively can change the entire family. I don't necessarily agree with family systems where you have to educate the whole family to have any kind of change. I think even just having one family member attending these classes and learning and growing and changing their life, or just changing small daily things, really can make a difference over time in the whole family life, in the whole family system. That individual can cause a ripple effect and inspire those around them to change and be better. We're very influenced by our family members, and I think that is important. So chapter 2 talked about designing comprehensive family life education prevention programs. Family life education is very focused on prevention, not on fixing problems that already exist. I personally think that's more like a family therapy kind of side, whereas family life educators were teaching people to prevent these problems and to develop skills that help them, if they do have these problems, they can lower the risks and develop resiliency. So if they do have issues, it doesn't affect them as bad as it would if they hadn't taken our program. If we work to lower the risks and raise the protection factors, we help to build resiliency within the family. So there's 5 stages to developing a program like this. The first one is problem analysis. We can't design a program without designing it around a problem or an issue or a trend that we're seeing in marriages and families that can be fixed. So to do this, we kind of identify problems and establish overall goals. I think this is why being informed about problems in families is so important. There are new challenges popping up all the time that have an effect on families and marriages, and we need to continually be learning as a professional. Sister Linda K. Burton has said, first learn, then serve. To me, this means that you first learn what someone is struggling with and then serve them as best you can. Now we can try to reverse it and try to serve first and then get to know them, but I don't think we're as effective if we do it the other way around. Another way of problem analysis is finding a coalition of stakeholders who work together to address the problem. So this just means collaborating with others. I love the quote that says, I can't do everything, but I can do something. And that just really shows to me that when, we each individually can do something, but collectively, we can strengthen our ability to help meet these challenges or problems. The second stage would be program design. This is, what is our program going to look like? What lessons are we going to teach? Are we going to just have it be a one-time class? Are we going to have it be a weekly thing over 6 weeks? What does our program look like? We select outcome evaluations. We decide how are we going to measure whether this program is effective or not. The third stage is pilot testing. This is testing our program in the field. Once we've looked at a problem and we've developed a program, now we take it to a small group and see how they react to it. Is it successful? Do they enjoy it? Can you get people there every week? Are they struggling to meet there every week? Is it really bringing change in people's lives? This is kind of like having a small test group sample before we bring it to the public. And a critical part of this pilot testing is being able to critically look at our work and make needed changes. And that is a mark of a quality teacher and learner. If we are able to look at our work critically and say, oh, I could have done that better, or I could have done this instead of this, or I could have been a little more sensitive about this topic. That means that we're constantly learning, constantly changing, and our programs will reflect that and will get better and better as time goes on. The stage 4 is advanced testing. This is even more testing after the program is finished to see if it was able to help participants make significant changes in their life. Did this program really even have a huge effect on them? We really want to see after the program's finished what happens. And then finally, stage 5 is called dissemination, and this is when the program is ready to move forward and we're able to take it to the masses. So there are some characteristics of strong, sustainable family life education programs. I'm just going to touch on a few, but one of them is community-based and carried out with community partners. So we really need to know the communities that we're talking to. Are we working with a Hispanic community? Are there certain things that we need to talk about there, like extended family involvement, things like that, as opposed to, a suburban, mostly middle class, mostly white family group that may not be as intertwined with their extended family as, for example, a Hispanic community would be. A huge characteristic of them is preventative in nature. It recognizes and builds on participants' strengths to enhance skills. We notice that our group has these set of skills and we want to build them to give them even more resiliency and prevent future problems from occurring. Are they developmentally appropriate and based on current research? Are we taking into account the stage of life that these children are in, or these parents are in, or these parents with teenagers? Are we really talking about development in an appropriate and accurate way, because development is closely linked with family life. And we need to have a vision. We need to know what our plan is. How do we want to change family life? What do we want to do to help others? We need to have a clear vision and a clear goal. So chapter 16 was Marketing Family Life Principles, Practices, and Programs. So I'm going to break this kind of up into 4 sections. They are product, price, place, publics. So the product is the total package of professional services that's delivered to the client. Our clients need to see an importance in the program. They need to find meaning in classes like this. It's kind of like symbolic interaction. You know, we do things that we find meaning in, whether it be a class or whether it be going on a date with our husband or something like that. It's still applicable. We need people to find meaning in these classes and to feel like it's making a difference in their lives. Price. So we need to understand that people are making sacrifices for this class. There is a price, not just a tangible price of money, but there are also intangible prices like time and energy and transportation and childcare costs. Those are more tangible. But people are making sacrifices to be at our program, and we need to make sure that those those costs don't outweigh the benefits, or few people will attend our program. So place, the physical location of where services are offered. This is important because the place is really a huge part in the success of our program. If we're going to a place that is hard to get to, or is in a part of town that people don't really go to very much, or something like that, it is going to be more difficult for people to attend our program. For example, one family class that's offered in Idaho Falls, it's called Parenting with Love and Logic, and those are offered at the Idaho Falls Public Library. And I feel like that's a very great location. People are going to the library constantly. They have community rooms that would be appropriate for classes like that. It's right in the heart of the city. Everyone knows where it's at. It's just a very comfortable, low-key place, but it's also appropriate. It's accessible, things like that. Publics. So these are the variety of groups that potentially will influence or be influenced by the program. So going back to Idaho Falls Public Library, that is somebody that's influencing that program. That's where they advertise most of that Parenting with Love and Logic, and it's where those classes take place. Librarians may help and teach some of the courses. They might say, hey, this parenting class is coming up, just to let you know, as they're checking people out with books and things like that. So it's important that we not only are aware of things that can influence us, but we also need to try to collaborate with them and work together with those things that are closely related to our programs. Okay. Chapter 18 talks about improving the practice of family life education. So one of the biggest issues with family life education is professionalism and trying to bring professionalism to family life education. Many people that don't really know what family life educators are, don't really understand the need for them, don't really understand that people go to school actually to educate families. And so to kind of create a professionalism within our job choice, the field has done quite a few things. For example, it's certified family life educators. You can take a test, or you can graduate from a certified program to get certification, to have a certificate that says that you are a family life educator. Some other things are specific family life curriculum. It's a standardized curriculum, so that way we're all learning the same things, and so we would tend to teach the same things as well. This would also help cut down some of the literature out there that's for family life education but may not be appropriate, or just doesn't really work within families. And it would weed that out and kind of say, okay, this is what we need to talk about here. This is what our educators learn, and this is what they know. It's just a lot more standardized. Another one is networking. The more we work with others, the more effective we become. When we partner with therapists, doctors, scholars, and other professionals, we add to our own professionalism. It makes it look like, okay, when we don't know something, we go to someone else who would know it. And that kind of creates it kind of just creates a bond between different fields of study, because family life education is made up of lots of different fields, and there are lots of professionals that can help us. And we show others that we just don't have all the answers, but that when we work together, we can find more answers that way. Another thing that adds professionalism to our field is partnering family life education with intervention services. I think this is really important. I think this is the best way to reach really high needs families that may be in low socioeconomic status that really need that family life education. We could partner with things like WIC or Children's Medicaid or pediatrician in hospitals, because that helps us get to the public. It helps us get to those minority groups, those people that really need the family life help and may not be able to find it because of cost or just a lack of opportunities. I really think that's where we can make the biggest difference. Finally, program effectiveness. Do our programs really work? That adds to our professionalism. If our programs that we're creating aren't working, who's going to want to attend them? Who's going to even take us seriously? It's important that we talk about program effectiveness. Okay, so Appendix A talks about is a statement of principles, and I'm just going to kind of highlight some of my favorite principles. The first one is the principle of empathy, and I think this is probably the most important thing that we need to have as family life educators. Stephen Covey has said, when you show deep empathy towards others, their defensive energy goes down and the positive energy replaces it. That is when you get more creative in solving problems. Family life education really is about prevention and solving problems, even before they happen. We're helping people to solve problems within their family, to find solutions. And the only way we can do that is if we're empathetic and if we try to understand what their family dynamic is like. If we don't know and understand those we teach, then we can't effectively teach them. And empathy is a huge player in learning and understanding others. The second one is the principle of agency, and I also think this is a very important one as well, because we can't force people to change. Even though they view our programs, they come every week, we try to inspire them to change, people still ultimately have their agency. Robert D. Hales has said, agency used righteously allows light to dispel the darkness and enables us to live with joy and happiness. Each of us is given the gift of agency. That's a huge part of why we're here on this earth. And it's important to remember that we shouldn't try to violate that. We need to respect that people have their own choices, and they're going to make their own choices. Even though we do everything we can to try to help them make the right choices, it ultimately is up to them. The other one I would like to talk about is the principle of goodness. And this is that there's an inclination in the human spirit to be good. That people drive towards goodness, they drive towards connection and growth. I think this is important for family life educators because this is what we're working with here. If we look at people and families that they have an innate desire to be good, they have an innate desire to connect with each other, then we just really have to kind of tap into that. People want to love each other, and they want to connect as a family or as a marriage. They want their marriage to be strong. They want to be intimate with their partner. And that really is inside them. We don't have to give them those desires. They have those desires already, and we just have to inspire them and just kind of maybe push a little bit. And that's our real role, is to just kind of take those needs and those desires and those wants and bring them to the front, and then give them the tools that they need to fulfill that. And if we have this view that people are mostly good, then I think we can just we can more effectively help them because we see them in a more positive light. It's important to understand that we all have the light of Christ and that we're all children of our Heavenly Father, and that when dealing with people and working with people in the family life education setting, we need to be sensitive and caring and treat individuals same way that we want to be treated. So that's it. Thanks for watching.